Alright guys, BLM here back with a new video, and in this video we're back with another challenge cast reaction for the challenge 41. What do you know? This cast feels just like most other recent casts, a bit underwhelming. Well, obviously we were just coming out of challenge 40, which I did think was, again, casting wise, actually a pretty good cast. I think they obviously put a lot of care into that, even though, again, there's definitely some qualms there. But again, I think with this cast, 41, we're kind of going back to what I kind of thought of, like the likes of Spies, Lies, and Allies and Ride or Dies, where there's some good people here and there, mostly the female rookies, where everyone else, again, a bit questionable. Where the casting of the vets in particular on this season just felt really lazy, where the majority of them having just appeared on Challenge 40 or All-Stars 5, and many of them being extremely controversial figures to where, again, they're not the people I personally would want back from those seasons. Now, I do want to apologize for this video coming out so late. It was initially planned to be coming out last Wednesday, but at that point we did not get enough of the cast. And also by Saturday, again, I did want to have my runner-up ranking come out. There again, it was just kind of bad timing to where, again, it's coming out a week later than what it should here. Though again, I thought I would be able to utilize that time to actually wait for the entire cast to come out. Though again, at this current point, we still only know 28 names out of the 32. There are 4 male rookies that we do not know. Despite waiting later, I still don't have the full cast to react to here. But again, gonna do what I can in this spot. But again, like my other cast reactions, I'll be running through every player rumored to be on the cast, talk about my opinions along the way. Let's start off with Adrian Naylor from Married at First Sight UK. What a great start to the video. Again, I know nothing about this person. And through some brief research, I saw that she was somebody that went on this weight loss journey, and she's also somebody that's not with the person that she was on Married at First Sight with anymore, to where, again, maybe she could be good. Could not tell you a single thing really about her, though. Next up, one of the people I'm actually probably the most excited to see here, again, someone that I really liked on their original show. That person is America Lopez from BB25, and again, I'm excited to see America here. Again, I did like AmeriCorey on BB25. Again, I still pop into Corey's live streams here and there, and again, seeing America here, I think should be fun. Again, America's a very fun presence, someone that can be very confrontational. I'll be honest, I don't know how well I think challenge will necessarily go for her. I don't know if she's someone that I would have expected to do well at the challenge, but still someone that, again, I think for her to appear here, I think should be fun. I don't know if I'm necessarily expecting a long stint from her. Next up, moving on to Anissa. Why? Next up, moving on to Ashley Mitchell. And again, I'm excited to see Ashley back here. I mean, Ashley is someone that we've been missing from the mainline show since Spies, Lies, and Allies, and to further, and there was this controversy on that season where, again, I don't necessarily condone what Ashley did to get kicked off of that season, but at the same time, I do feel like Ashley's presence has surely been missed in the seasons that she's missed. I mean, the fact that she wasn't back for Challenge 40, I think is a massive travesty, and again, her being back on Challenge 41, really excited to see it. It should be fun. Again, she's always a really fun character, and also, obviously, a very good competitor. So again, Ashley's return here, especially from, again, the returnee side of things, is definitely one of the people I'm the most excited to see here. Next, I'm moving on to Aviv, and Aviv is someone that I just don't really get why they're casting her again. Like, I get that she was involved in, like, the Bananas Michelle feud, but considering Michelle's on the cast, it's like, I don't know why Aviv is here. I mean, Aviv's fine, purely affable, but someone that, again, why is she on Challenge 41? Again, I feel like if she was on All-Stars 6, that would make sense. Again, I feel like she kind of fits in line with people that should be on All-Stars. Why is she on the mainline show? I don't think this is a pick that was necessary, and I don't know what else she's going to bring outside just being another Bananas minion. So again, not really a pick that I'm particularly excited to see at this point, which we're considering how, like, again, interesting of a pick she was for 40, but again, for 41, just not as much of one. Next, I'm moving on to another person I do know, another rookie here. We got Blue from BB25, and I'm actually excited to see Blue here. I feel like Blue is somebody that, while I did not love her on Big Brother, I feel like her gameplay style was very frustrating, and again, she was a pretty terrible player there. I feel like she's someone that, again, does fit in with the challenge. I actually, again, for a rookie, I feel like is a pretty decent pick here, especially when mixing in the fact that she's here with America. Again, that dynamic should be interesting to see, considering, like, America was constantly trying to work with Blue, only for Blue to constantly rat her out. And again, I think seeing this dynamic be tested again on the challenge could be interesting. So again, I think Blue is actually a pretty solid pick for the show here. Next up, moving on to Cara Maria. And if this was, again, immediately after 40, I'll be pretty excited to see Cara Maria back on 41. Again, seeing her back in rotation after obviously being on the massive hiatus. Again, I've always liked old school Cara, where, well, again, there's still obviously some things to call out here and there. Again, I think old school Cara at least was this very fun underdog figure. But obviously we got all this controversy around Cara Maria very recently. Some very icky Instagram posts that are, again, very weird that she's still here. I mean, obviously she was in the rumor mill before those comments came out, but the fact that she's still on the cast cast after that, it does feel very strange here. And like, I guess she apologized since then, but again, it very much felt like her being told to apologize because she was probably still going to be on the challenge tour. Again, at the end of the day, again, I naturally would be excited to see a Cara Maria return, though I do think the current context makes this very strange. Next, moving on to CT, and again, he's fine. Again, CT, one of the best challenge players of all time. Someone we haven't seen too much of recently. Again, obviously he came back for 40, but outside that, he hasn't been too prominent since Spice Lies and Allies. So again, him being back for 41, I don't really have an issue with that. I think he's, again, one of the better veteran picks here, though also he's someone that obviously was just always going to be on if he was wanting to. Though I will say he has obviously seemed to be in a very weird spot in his real life. Again, a lot of weird social media activity recently. Though while that was a few months ago, I do wonder how that overall affected his run, but still, as a whole, again, I'm fine with CT being here. Next, I'm moving on to one of the people I'm the most excited for, someone that I've been speculating for a while. That person's D from Survivor 45. And again, D had been alluding to more recently that she might be on the challenge. And again, to see her here, I'm excited. Again, I think D is someone that was, again, a very fun personality on 45. Again, definitely had these like villainous undertones, played an extremely dominant game, but also someone that is extremely physical. And really, in general, I feel like D is a perfect pick for the challenge. Again, I feel like she really fits into everything that the challenge kind of represents. Again, the fact that she could be so physical, the fact that she can be confrontational and is a very aggressive player. Again, I feel like D is a perfect pick for the challenge here. Though again, she's probably my top contender of the newbies to win here. Though I think an interesting ramification of all this is the fact that obviously her being here probably means she's not on Survivor 50, which is going to be filming, probably like a few weeks after this season finishes filming, and even beyond that, again, her being in the casting process for the challenge probably means that they weren't considering her for Survivor as well. So obviously this ends up having effects on who's potentially in the running for 50, but again, that's obviously for a different video. But again, as is, excited to see D here. Perfect pick for the show. Next, moving on to Derek Chavez, who is fine. I mean, Derek is someone that, again, definitely made a name for himself with the 40. Again, had a very impressive performance. Got second on that season. Really insane considering Derek Chavez was kind of a dud on most other seasons he was on from a physical standpoint. And entertainment-wise, he's fine. Again, he has some good confessionals here and there. Again, he's not the most riveting TV in my mind, but he's also someone that I don't think is like offensively bad. Like, he's just kind of exists. I don't really have an issue with him here, but he's also not someone I'm particularly excited about either. Next, moving on to Derek Kaczynski, because we had to have both Dereks on this season. And again, Derek's another one I'm fine with being here. I mean, I do think he does come off as a bit of a ham at points, though. Again, he is someone that still is able to show, again, a lot of determination, like he did in Challenge 40, and again, is a very likable presence. Where while I don't know if he necessarily needs to be on the mainline show, where I feel like he does definitely fit a lot better on All Stars, he's someone that, again, I'm not opposed to being back here. Next, moving on to Izzy from Too Hot to Handle and Perfect Match. And shockingly, I actually know who this person is. I actually watched Perfect Match for whatever reason. I remember her. She's okay. Again, I think she kind of fits into the challenge in the sense that, again, I think she kind of fits into like kind of a more old school casting choice. Again, a very young, attractive, physical enough probably. Again, she seems like a fine choice here. Again, not somebody I'm like super excited for, but not someone that I think would be bad either. Again, someone I can see having potential on the show. Though I think there's also where she ends up being kind of like an Annalise and ends up kind of being a dud as well. Next, I'm moving on to Jake Cornish from Love Island UK and All Stars. And I don't know who this person is, but I know he's a quitter that has quit both of the seasons he's been on. So it's like, why is he on the challenge? But still, again, on paper, seems like a good pick. Again, seems to be somewhat physical, again, on a messy show, but at the end of the day, again, his perpetuity quit is something that doesn't give me too much confidence here. Next up, we got Johnny Bananas, and I mean, again, kind of like Cara Maria, it's like expected, but also weird considering the recent controversy. We're getting the entire situation around him and Taylor Hale was just very strange, and again, not a good look. For all Bananas has said his side of the story, and I do feel like the fact that he's, again, immediately on a challenge cast after that is also very weird. Again, Bananas here, fine. Again, it's expected. And sad truth is that pretty much no matter what Bananas does, as long as it isn't criminal, probably gonna be brought back anyway. Again, MTV just seems to love him for whatever reason, to where, again, there's never really a doubt to me that Bananas is gonna end up on this season. Next up, we got Justin Hinsley from Netflix's Cheer. Like, what? Like, who is this guy? Like, why is this guy here? Or again, this just feels like another one of these, like, standard picks from, like, the late 30s of people just from the most random shows. And again, I know nothing about this person outside. I assume he's involved in cheerleading, right? He was on Cheer, but again, I know nothing about this person. Next up, moving on to Leica Sodade from Canada's Ultimate Challenge, a very random pick here. The fact that they're picking somebody from Canada's Ultimate Challenge before they pick someone from BB Can is pretty egregious to me. Though at the same time, I kind of like Leica. I feel like Leica seems like someone that should be good. I mean, I watched her bio, her intro video for Canada's Ultimate Challenge, and again, she seems super physical to where again, I would expect her to do very well on the show itself, and it feels like someone that should perfectly fit in with the rest of the show. To where, again, despite the fact that I know very little about her, again, literally nothing about her until I'm recording this segment here, I do feel like she's someone that I'm actually kind of moderately excited for, as I do think she has a lot of potential to bring. Next, moving on to Leroy. Why is Leroy here? Again, it's so funny how Leroy retired after 36 just to come back and do back-to-back seasons. Where, again, since he's done All-Stars 4, he's done Challenge 40, All-Stars 5, now for 41. Why is he here? And again, I like Leroy. He's a purely alpha presence, though I do feel like his time's kind of passed. I mean, again, we saw in Challenge 40, that was not a good performance from him. And while he's on that, again, I think can make a final. I just don't really have much faith in Leroy to ever win at this point, but again, he is a big legend of the show, and again, there's worse picks in the world, but also, again, I did not need to see Leroy back here. Moving on to Michaela Bradshaw, and again, excited to see Michaela back here. I mean, she's actually only been on one proper challenge season, and Spies, Lies, and Allies was the first boot. But again, since then, obviously did USA 2 and had a really great performance there. Again, really excited to see Michaela back here, where she was probably one of my top picks from the vet side of things of people I was hoping to make the list. And again, she's just someone that brings it all to the challenge. Again, someone that can be confrontational, someone that is very good physically, someone that plays the game very aggressively, yet also messily, to where, again, I think she really just brings so much to the table here. Again, I'm really happy Michaela's getting another shot. Next up, we have Nany, and again, not really shocking that Nany is here, though. Again, Nany's someone that I do think got a bit boring for a bit. Again, I think in Double Agent, Spies, Lies, and Allies sort of time, I feel like Nany just really didn't bring much to the table. I think she was better on Ride or Dies, and again, from what we've seen so far of All-Stars 5, she seems to be fine, where I'm kind of fine with Nany being back here. Again, I think of these people that come back over and over and over again, I think Nany is the least egregious of those people, and with her also being recently single, again, I think there could be an interesting dynamic here, to where, again, I'm not opposed to Nany being back here. Next, I'm moving on to Naya, and Naya is someone that, again, I was fully expecting to be on this season. Makes a lot of sense. With her, again, feeling like recent enough to not be with, like, the All-Star crowd as much, and again, she's still competent enough physically, provides some hookups, to where, again, she definitely adds a lot to the show still. At the same time, though, again, she's obviously still not the same Naya that we got way back in the day. She's a much more affable presence nowadays, but one that, again, definitely not one of the top people I wanted to see back here, but not one I'm opposed to seeing here either. Next, I'm moving on to Olivia, and I'm perfectly fine with Olivia being here. I mean, Olivia's, again, I think one of the better rookies in recent years, to where, again, she's physical enough to do well in challenges, can get into confrontations, even though, to be fair, there's other points where she's kind of boring, and also just kind of messy in terms of general gameplay, to where, again, I think Olivia's fine here. Again, I think she's one of the better rookies of recent years, to where, again, her being one of these people that is coming back pretty much season after season after season, again, is something I'm not personally opposed to, so again, perfectly fine for being here. Next, I'm moving on to Rogan, and again, from the vet side of things, definitely one of the bigger surprises to see return here. Someone that, again, very controversial. After 35, definitely had some social media activity that was not good. Also beyond that, claim that he didn't want to be on the show anymore. So again, the fact that he's back here, and I'm personally excited for it. Now, again, I do not like Rogan as a person, where again, he seems like a genuinely bad person, but from a reality TV point of view, he is a great villain for the show. And I do think he was really hitting his stride with Total Madness, where he was just such a great antagonist on that season. For him to just disappear after that, I think was a bit of a travesty. So again, I am happy to see him back here, even though, again, obviously along with him does come a lot of controversies. Next, I'm moving on to another Survivor player here, and here we got Sydney Siegel. And I'll say I'm pretty happy to see Sydney Siegel here. I feel like Sydney is someone that just perfectly fits the challenge. I think even seeing her on Survivor in the new era, it felt very strange. It doesn't feel like she's a character that fits within modern Survivor. She felt a lot more old school. Feels perfectly in line with something like the challenge. The fact that, again, she is physical enough, the fact that she can be confrontational, the fact that she has these very snippy one-liners, the fact that she plays the game hard, mind you, messily. And through that, again, I think Sydney is someone that, again, I think is a perfect pick for a challenge. I'm surprised it took him this long, considering, again, her Survivor season was now, almost 4 years ago. The fact that it took them this long to cast her on challenge is kind of a surprise, but I'm happy she's finally actually there. Next, moving on to Tabe Coxen from BBAU, someone that most people would be confused over who this person is, but I actually know who this person is. I actually watch BBAU, and she's fine. I think she's fine. I mean, her BBAU season was, again, dubbed the House of Love. It was this weird season where they were trying to make it a Love Island ripoff, and it's a season that I do think is actually pretty ripe with potential challenge casting choices. I will say, I personally would not pick Tabe for that. I mean, I would actually pick her sister Ari over her, where I feel like she was a lot messier. Tabe was someone that found a showman at the very beginning and just stayed with that person and was just kind of boring on the season. Now, again, I think she could be fine on the challenge. Again, I think she'll be decent physically. I think she could bring some mess, but I think of the bigger names from her season, I feel like she's probably the person I'm the least excited to see here. But again, someone that at least could have some potential here. Next, moving on to Theo, and Theo is probably going to be a dud. Again, I think Theo is somebody that obviously I was very excited to see him back after he was gone for a while after World of Worlds 2, where again he had a very impressive initial performance. He comes back for World Championship where he was just kind of a dud for the most part. Not a complete dud. I feel like there were little moments like his fight with Nany, and he did make it to the finals, at least that's something. But then he comes back for 40, where I was also again, maybe he'll do better, but no, he does worse, and he kind of sucked on 40. Again, he was boring, and also he didn't perform well. And again, I think that's probably what we're going to see from Theo this time. So again, Theo's not something I'm personally excited for, but at the same time, again, he at least has his ratio of Olivia, which should be kind of interesting to see, maybe. Or I don't know, maybe that shakes up the game dynamics, but probably won't, and he'll probably just be boring. Next, moving on to Turbo. Are you coming? And sure, I mean, again, Turbo, I don't know what new we're necessarily getting from Turbo at this point. Again, we've obviously got him having a very dominant performance in War of the Worlds, and then after that, he's been a massive hothead that's been kind of hated on his other seasons, where obviously he's on All-Stars 5 now, and I'm assuming that goes fine enough for them to want him back. But again, I didn't personally need to see Turbo here again. I feel like we're just going to, again, get more of the same. But again, I do think he's one of the least egregious picks of the rookies, considering at least he does bring confrontation. He does obviously have this massive ego, and he is a good competitor. So again, at least there's something he will bring to the table there. Next, moving on to William Gagnon from Are You the One Season 9, a season that I had no clue existed, considering I thought all Are You the One seasons were on MTV, but this one was on Paramount Plus. And again, I don't know anything about him. He seems super physical. I think he fits into the challenge just archetype wise. And again, he is from a MTV adjacent sort of show where, again, he could be good. I mean, I saw a clip of him fighting. So, I mean, again, he could be messy. Who knows, though? And finally, we're moving on to Jeremy from Amazing Grace 35. So random. Again, I watched the season. I did a review of it. And again, he came off as a very affable figure, where I remember it was him and his brother, and they had a falling out and were kind of trying to reconcile. And again, I remember him being a very endearing figure on the season, but also, why is he here? Now, again, I think there's probably more egregious picks on the cast than him, but still, it's I find this to be so random. But again, I guess not someone I'm necessarily against either. He's perfectly fine, but just someone that I never once expected to actually be on the challenge. There we go. I mean, those are my thoughts on the Challenge 41 cast. Now, down the road, again, I'll probably do a review for Challenge 41. Again, I've been thinking about stopping doing challenge reviews, but I haven't stopped myself yet, so I probably will just continue to do them. Beyond that, obviously, I'm expecting to do a review of All-Stars 5. I haven't started working on it, but I'll probably do it. And obviously, we got a lot of other things going on. Australian Survivor, Survivor US, Traders coming up, so again, stay tuned for videos on those and just the other normal content. But for now, that is the video. Thank you for watching.